Hello and welcome back to Bournemouth RC. Now tonight's video is going to be answering a question that I see a lot on forums or on Facebook, and it's a question that does come up a lot, and it's actually a question that I wish I thought about before I first used my Kraton, and I'll explain why. Now the question is, what should I do to my Kraton when I can take it out of the box? And that question could be answered in lots of different ways. You can just plug in a battery and off you go, and that's pretty much what I did. Plugged in the battery and off I went. Not an issue with that, and some people believe that's the best way to go. However, I wish I'd done a few things to the Kraton before I did that. Purely because A, it would have saved me hassle, time, but actually some of them would have saved me a little bit of money as well. And I'll explain why as we go along. A couple of them I did do pretty quickly, so we'll go through the list. Some of them are going to cost nothing, some of them are going to cost a few pennies or a couple of quid, and some of them are going to cost a little bit more, but I think it's well worth doing. So we're actually going to start off with the body. Now underneath the body here you can see, although mine's starting to come off now, I do need to redo it. I have duct taped the whole underside of the body to strengthen it. Not only have I duct taped it, I've actually put hot glue gun along any of the creases to strengthen them before I've duct taped it. And it has meant the body has held up really well for a very thin body. Now most of the stock cars all come with quite thin bodies. You can get indestructible bodies for the cars, and it's probably what I'll go for after this one does eventually wear out. Even though I've strengthened it, I have battered and smashed this, and it's actually held up pretty well. Couple of little lumps here at the front where the top of the towers have hit, a little crack here, and a couple of cracks at the back, which you might just be able to see just in there. So I'm actually going to be stripping all of that off and redoing it just to re-strengthen it to make it last a little bit longer. But I think that's something that you can do for very cheap. A roll of duct tape is probably £1 or £2. And if you've got a hot glue gun, use that. Maybe have a think about what else you could use if you haven't got one. So just a little tip, strengthen that body, which will make it last a lot longer. Okay, so on to the next one. Now I did partly do this one when I got it, but I didn't do it enough. When I first got the car, I turned it over and I tightened every screw that was underneath there. Now I'm really glad I did that. But what I'm a little bit annoyed with myself for doing is not doing every other screw that was on top as well. They do come out of the factory with loose screws. It's not uncommon for pretty much every single RC car out there to come out with loose screws. And to be honest with you, actually every car that's made tends to come out with loose bolts in. And one of the things the dealerships do is tighten up, make sure all the bolts are tight before they go out. So it is quite a common thing for factories. Some things aren't tight, so just go around this car and tighten up every screw. I actually had a couple come loose. I had the front hinge pin at the top come loose, which meant I lost a couple of the shims down at the back of that arm there. I've replaced it with a little bit of plastic, so it didn't cost me anything. I had a bit of plastic lined about, drilled a hole through it, it was right thickness, job done. But it's just annoying, and why I didn't think of doing that when I first did up all the screws underneath, I don't know. So make sure you do up every screw and just check it over on the car. It does take a little bit of time, but it's well worth doing because you're not going to have something come loose. The next thing I did, or I wish I had done, is the droop screws to adjust the arms for where they sit. Now mine are adjusted already, and there is a video on my channel, so take a look through the channel and you'll see the droop screw adjustment. Now the droop screws are just down in here behind the cup, front and rear, and what they do is they stop or they limit how low the arm can go. Now out of the factory, the arm can go lower than the shocks can travel, which means that when you get a hit down on there, the arm goes too low, the bottom of the shocks there break, and I replaced 2 of the little shock ends before I realised this. Someone else actually gave me the little tip. I've adjusted them, and ever since I've not broken one. I have replaced them with the RPM ones. They're meant to be a little bit stronger. That was when I first broke one, I got the RPM ones. But I actually think that if you adjust them, you probably don't need the RPM one. So if you adjust them out of the box, I don't think you'll break one. Or if you do, I don't think it'll be down to that. So that's worth doing, and it's a free thing to do. just tighten up those screws. Have a look back through my videos and you can see that one. Now that's pretty much it when it comes to the real cheap ones or the free ones. There's a couple that you need to do, I think, out of the box. And this next one cost me about £40 because I didn't do it. And that is that all the diffs in here, I have reshimmed. I didn't do it when I first took it out, and I actually broke or wore out the pinion and the crown wheel on the back diff because I didn't do it. When they come out of the factory, they are shimmed up, but they are shimmed for the average car, the average diff. Now, when they make those diffs, every single little cog and gear inside them will all have a slight tolerance. And if all of your cogs and gears are within that average section, your diffs will be fine. But that average section is very, very small, and you've got to have every cog and gear in there to be in that average section. So they put in the average amount of shims for the average diffs. If you're really lucky, yours are there. If they're not, you're going to get problems. And this is a really, really cheap fix, to be fair. And I have done it. And again, if you look back through my channel, you'll see the videos on how to do it. You have a small shim for inside the diff and a larger shim for the outside of the diff into the casing. Now this shim here is the one that cost me £40 because I hadn't looked at them beforehand. They do have a shim there, but mine needed more. Mine actually needed 3 shims, and out the factory it comes with 1. So if I'd done that when I first got the car, that shim there, which costs 20p, would have saved me £40. You buy them in a pack of 10, £2 for a pack for both of them. So for £4, you could reshim your diffs and you're a lot less likely to get any troubles. Now, when you do that, it does give you a chance to put your own diff oil in. I did that. I changed all my diff oil. I put 60,000 weight in the front, 500,000 weight in the middle, and 30,000 weight in the rear. And I've been really, really pleased with that, actually. I went off of what other people had said on the forums and stuff like that. Now, one of the things I must say what I did with that as well is because it does tend to make it want to wheelie a little bit more, because that 500,000 in the centre stops the wasted power going to the front balloon in the tyres, gives the rear slightly more power when you're accelerating, which can cause it to wheelie a little bit more. Now, I like to do a lot of bashing in this. I have taken it to a racetrack, but I like to do a lot of bashing in it and a lot of jumps, and I want the control over the jumps. So that is really, really good for the control over the jumps and acceleration. However, yeah, so I've lowered my brake setting to the lowest to stop it in the air. When you hit the brake, stop it to really nosedive really quickly. You can control it a little bit more. So that controls the brakes. I've also lowered my punch. Now it comes out of the factory with a 4 out of 9. I did raise it up to 6 at one point before I did the diffs. And it does make it accelerate a little bit quicker, but the top speed is the same. What I've actually done now, I've done a diff, is I've lowered that right back down to 3. And I absolutely love it now. It is still an absolute beast on acceleration. It's not as quick as it could be if you put it all the way up to 9, but then you're going to struggle really controlling it because it's going to want to wheelie everywhere. I've lowered it to 3 purely because it handles a lot better in the air. So my advice, if you're going to go bashing, shim your diffs, put decent diff oil in of a decent thickness, and then lower your brakes, lower your punch setting. Brakes are the lowest, punch setting to number 3. I'm really, really pleased with it. Everybody's going to have different opinions, but that's how I really, really like it. If you're going to go racing, you're going to want to up both of them because you want the brakes to be a lot harder and you want the acceleration to be a bit harder. It is worth noting when you've got the brakes down at the lowest, it does take longer to stop. Be prepared for that. You have to just think slightly ahead, but it's all about the control in the air for me, and that's what I really, really like. Now, the last thing that I would highly recommend out of the box is these RPM front bumpers. Now, I have the RPM front bumper obviously on the front, but I have the exact same bumper on the rear. Now, to do that, you do need to change the stock bumper to the Italian or the Typhoon one. I have a video on that as well. Have a look through the channel and you can see the part numbers and the links to everything I'm talking about today. Has all got a video on there, all with the part numbers and the links, including the shims, and these shims are in UK stock, which is really, really handy. These bumpers have saved me loads, absolutely loads. And actually I've got a little clip that I'll show you now of me landing on that front bumper from sort of 20-30 foot in the air. So to wrap this up then, there's 5 things I would really recommend doing out of the box. One is to do up every screw on the car and just check it's tight. That's a must for me because they do come slightly loose. Well, some of them do. And I've lost a couple of little shims for that, but as I said, I've managed to make up with it. Number 2, adjust your droop screws. Get them right so it doesn't break the bottom of your shocks. Number 3, strengthen your body. There's no point just smashing that body about. If you've got a bit of duct tape in the house or whatever, just put it on, it will strengthen it. Number 4, shim your diffs. Now, this one is going to cost you, as I said, about £4 plus delivery for the shims, so maybe 6-7 quid. But it's going to save you breaking parts. You may still break some out of pure bad luck. If you land these things when you're on the throttle, you are going to break stuff in your diffs. So there's a little bit of advice there. Always land with the controller in the neutral position if you can, because that does put a lot of stress on the cars. So, and lastly, the RPM front bumpers. Absolutely chuffed with them. They take one hell of a beating, and it just stops all of that impact running up through any parts on the car. So that's my advice. Top 5 things to do when you take the Kraton out of the box. And there is also lots of other upgrades I would recommend you do as you go. And you can see them across all of my channel. For example, I've done the RPM arms, I've done N2C chassis braces. I did do the GPM ones, don't get them. The GPM chassis braces are not strong. Have a look at one of my videos for that. That's on good and bad upgrades for the Kraton, so just have a look at that. So some parts I've absolutely loved upgrading, some parts I've done some upgrades that I really wish I hadn't done. So have a look at that video and it just gives you a bit of an idea. Some of the best websites for upgrades, you've got Bad Touch Breakers. They are the British M2C chassis or M2C suppliers. And you've got Custom RC Upgrades. They make some phenomenal parts, and I've got some lovely parts from them. And actually that brings me on to my next video. I've got another delivery from Custom RC Upgrades. I've ordered the front hinge pin holder, like I said on a previous video. The front upper hinge pin holder, because I broke the plastic one. I've actually got another plastic one in there that someone gave me off of Facebook. That was the guy from Bad Touch Breakers. Really helpful. He just sent me a stock one because he had one lying about until Custom RC came in with theirs. So I got Custom RC's one there, so I'll do a little video of installing that. But also, again, they sent me another little gift. So I've got a little gift in there. So we'll be doing a little video on that. So to see what's in there, have a look at the next video. And then I should be showing you that hinge pin holder. And then I'll do a video after that on their nice little gift they've given me. So that's it from Bournemouth RC tonight. That's the top 5 things I'd do to the Kraton before you go and use it. You don't have to, this is my advice. Some of them are going to save you a lot of money in the future. So really